Hi, this is Forever Collector, another episode of Collectors Anonymous. Today, we have a very special guest. His name is Gezi TCG, huge Yu-Gi-Oh! Expert and PSA consultant. What an honor it is to have you on the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm stoked to be here, truly.
Have you heard of the show at all?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, when you reached out to me to do a podcast, I'm just kind of starting up, my career, my brand, and everything like that. So I'm
right.
Stoked to get on to new podcasts and stuff like that. I didn't know you had one. I know, I follow you. I know you
right.
Somewhat. I know about the stuff that you do. I see you over at Psa Jokers and Pierre, I think is his name.
Yeah.
He's a super tight dude. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people in the community, and I'm super blessed to have a lot of friends and people that I can connect to all over the country, because like it's pretty special. When we went to the Fukuda signing is where I met a lot of the LA kids actually. And it was pretty special, I think. Yeah. I
don't know a ton about like the signatures and stuff like that for Pokemon, and I try and stay in my lane.
Yeah.
But I know that Fukuda is a hard signature to get. So even like a guy like me who doesn't know anything about it, like I know that's tough. I know that's a tough one. That's
awesome. And that's showing that, the recognize, I can't even say it. The ability to recognize a signature as rare just with little to no knowledge of autographs is pretty inspiring to see that go on. And so like I hope that's continued, because I feel like anybody who knows about anything about autographs, they know Christopher Rush for Magic the Gathering is like the Grail. That's it.
Number one.
Exactly.
Chris Rush, dude. If you've ever Googled MTG and then put like highest for sale, it's right up there. It's the first one. Chris Rush signed BGS 10 Black Lotus or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
I've seen a picture from a dude who knows a dude who has a pristine Lotus.
That's insane.
Yeah, I've only seen the picture. And he's like, yeah, I know this dude who has like a pristine Lotus. And I met the guy. We were having a beer with my buddy. And I was like, dude, do you know what that is? And he's like, yeah, it's pretty cool, right? I'm like, bro, that's not pretty cool. That's like legendary.
Yeah, that's wow. And I come from like, people who share a lot of their horror stories, and like I've seen like crazy pictures. There was like this one dude, he took a bunch of his old Magic cards and put them around the rim of his tire so he could spray paint his rim a different color, but not actually spray his tire because he didn't want to take the tire off. And somebody noticed.
They sell this thing called Paris tape.
Somebody noticed this like card that was like painted black, and they were like, can you pull that card out for us? And like contacted the dude, and he like, what this card, is this special or something? It was a Beta Lotus. And I was just like, wow. I mean,
also,
and this was also like 5 years ago when Beta Lotuses were only like $8,000 to $10,000, way cheaper than what they are now.
Yeah, but that's still like, it's tough to bankroll for the average guy.
100%, and I can agree with that. But that's also what's special about that card, I think, is because you can pull that card out of your closet and you change your life. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Do you mind if I talk about something real quick?
I would love to.
I see this a lot, man, like where people grow up in the hobby, right? So a guy like me who, I got a full-time job working for Army Space Command, right? I work for the government, so I don't make like you could Google my pay if I told you my rank and everything like that. It's publicly available, right? So a guy like me, stuff like that is tough to bankroll. But if you grow up in a hobby, when you were paying $200 for a Beta Lotus in like the 90s or whatever, or an Alpha Lotus, like you have equity in the card above what you make in your daily job. And so, people who grew up in the hobby can't necessarily bankroll those cards, but they can tap into the equity that exists in the stock that they have in order to be a bigger presence in the market. And I think that has changed a lot of the market, because you see guys who like, I might roast the dude real quick, but you know, like you talk about the $900,000 trade that like got posted, right?
Yep.
So
he's referring to the
you know,
Illustrator card that traded for a bunch of Charizards,
yep.
which
So,
valued
like,
about 900,000. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had some issues with the way that it was like, oh my God, look at this trade. Like, but no cash is on the table.
Yep.
So is it really worth $900,000? Like, that's up for debate. But, you know, like, I'm not, you know, saying that trade wasn't worth a ton of money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you could definitely tap into the equity there. But that's the equity that I'm talking about. Neither of those people, I assume, right, or you could argue that neither of those people really had $900,000 to put on the table.
Right.
Both of those people had $900,000 roughly in equity.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that has added a lot of volume, I think, to the collectibles market, right? And so kids like me, I'm 30, but, you know, people like me, you know, who don't have the opportunity to bankroll another complete PSA 10 set of Legend of Blue Eyes first edition, right?
Right.
Have that equity, you know what I mean? So as the market grows, I don't lose, you know, the ability to, you know, continue to maneuver to get things that I need because I have existing equity.
Exactly. And I think that that's important that people, you know, tend to forget a little bit, is that you can always trade. And you can always trade your equity, especially when it's in trading cards. You know, when you have equity in like properties or vehicles, it's a little bit harder to like trade that equity around and move that money around. But when it's collectibles, it's extremely easy to move that around. And there's a lot of people that are interested in stuff that you have and vice versa. So I think that this market climate being so high, it only adds another factor to the market. And I think that trading here and like trading product for products is going to be like a more prominent thing maybe in 2021 as prices continue to rise, if they do.
Right. Yeah, because I can't go out and buy.
I can't spend $100,000 like it's nothing, you know. I can't. I'm being honest, you know. Yeah,
I mean, I'll tell you, like, so I had a trade that I made. And I get, you know, I got it from both sides, dude. I got it from the one side in the beginning, and I'm getting it from the other now. That, you know, so I had a PSA 9. Well, I'll say I picked up a BGS 9 Crush Card Virus, Shonen Jump SJCS.
Okay, so that's a Yu-Gi-Oh card for all our Pokemon listeners.
Big deal, right? It's a big deal card. There's like 49 in the world.
That's crazy.
It. Something like that. And I'm not counting the ones that are in like the lucite cases. There's like 5 or so.
Right.
In lucite cases, right? And so, like, of those roughly 50 that exist on the open market, like, how many of them are 9 quality? So, excuse me. There's 3 10s. I can tell you where all 3 10s are. And then there's a couple of 9s, like 2, 3, something like that. A couple, you know, underneath that, some authentics, some 4s, some 5s. And largely, you know, most of them are raw. People like to keep them raw. So, I mean, that's not a problem. So I took this card in and I paid, you know, like $6,300 for it. I'll just, you know, put it out.
Jesus.
So, I subbed it to PSA. I cracked it. Risky. Cracked it. Subbed it to PSA. Came back a 9. Perfect. That's all I wanted. I didn't need a 10. I just wanted it to be a 9 because I didn't think it deserved to be a 10.
Right. So, and those cards came sealed, right? Like, so you had to break them out in order to grade them?
No, not all of them. No, some of them were given out at Upper Deck Day.
Okay.
And then I think, like, you know, a few of them were given out in magazines.
Right.
And then some of them were prizes. The prizes are in lucite cases, and you can't, I mean...
you have to break them out.
I would not recommend breaking them out of the lucite case.
It's crazy.
So I wanted to pick up a Dark Duel Stories Blue Eyes and a Starter Deck Kaiba Blue Eyes, right? I had a guy who was interested in the Crush Card. I had a couple of guys interested in the Crush Card Virus. But, you know, I'm big on classic Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is everything from LOB to AST.
Legend of Blue Eyes. Yeah. That's
Ancient Sanctuary.
Yeah, Ancient Sanctuary.
And every promo in between that period.
I actually remember all those because when I started to become a teen is when I like switched from Pokemon to Yu-Gi-Oh, and that's when I actually started doing like tournament play for Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff, and like Yatagarasu was like a huge tech.
Dude.
Yeah, dude. And I remember I had this misprint of it too, where all the writing on the card was like shifted up, that I pulled myself out of a pack, and like my dumbass got ripped off for it because I wanted and I can't even remember, like an Injection Fairy Lily, which is still a really good card. Man, but
you're speaking my language, dude.
You know, it's not really like crossing over in terms of like rarity, because a Yatagarasu right away is always going to be stupid more popular than the Lily. But a misprint one where like all the lettering was like shifted and you couldn't even like you couldn't even tell what was said on it. It was crazy. It was because
that's wild.
The text
I've never
box,
heard that misprint.
And I don't know. It was I don't know if it was just a printing defect, you know, and that just happened very, very small. You know, I don't know, but I remember
probably it's probably unique. You know?
Yeah, and I think that it could have only happened to a couple of sheets total, you know, and so like maybe one at the most, to be honest. And so
maybe one.
Yeah, so I think that it was really, really lucky, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like I remember when I turned 18 and then I finally went to college, and then I gave my entire collection to my little cousin, and like I had so much. Yeah. Oh my god, dude. Yeah. XYZ dragons, all the beta, alpha, gamma, like all minty, dude. And it was, oh man, I look at it now. And then like I told my little cousin, who is now an adult, he's like 21. And I was like, bro, where are those Yu-Gi-Oh cards? And he's like, just quiet. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, you know, that's 5 figures right now. We're both missing out of our pocket, right? And he's just upset about it. Upset, you know?
Those cards never got a lot of respect, man. Like, you know, a lot of those promos. So, I mean, now people are coming back to promos because they can't afford booster set cards, gem in or whatever. And now the promos are all gone and have doubled, tripled, or quadrupled or more because they're just not available.
Do you think that big PSA 10 sale on that Blue Eyes White Dragon kind of like really sparked the frenzy?
Man, I got a lot of thoughts about that sale, dude.
Well, we're here. So, let's hear them.
So we're talking about the eBay sale where PWCC auctioned, and I know the seller. This Blue Eyes, right? I know a little bit about the provenance of every Blue Eyes. Almost everyone. I'm missing like 10 certs. I've seen every Blue Eyes except like 10 of them.
That's crazy.
So, you know, this Blue Eyes sells for $85,000, right? So it was shilled. The auction was shilled. You know, the buyer paid and he bid $85,000, and you know, even though it was shilled, he paid because he bid it. So you know, blame the shiller, blame the buyer. You know, he bid, he paid, it sold. You know, it's hard to argue with that. And I don't, you know, I don't like the shilling, and I don't appreciate the ethics behind it.
Right.
Because I think it creates artificial inflation, which is 100%. Bad. It creates.
I think everybody's in agreement on that. Like.
Yeah. So you see cards rubber band, right? And so now the rubber band is like, you know, or was loose at the time because this thing had sold for like, you know, multiples of, you know, multiples higher than it had previously sold. The highest before that was like $25,000, which was a private sale,
right?
Brokered, you know, by a guy that I know. And then this one sells for $85,000. That's like that's more than 3 times the value. That's a big.
What's
big
the pop of the Blue Eyes?
It's 87.
Yeah, see, that's like a little bit too much of a pop to be jumping like that because there's a lot of people that would instantly bring their card out onto the market and just cash out, right?
There are 5 that are mislabeled, and there's 1 that was cracked.
Okay.
So the pop is like actually 81.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know how many of the 10 that I haven't seen are either mislabeled or don't exist at all.
Right. Okay.
If they were cracked. I mean, the reason I count 10s and not 9s and stuff is because 10s don't get cracked usually.
Right. Right.
So one of them did. I'm tracking it, but so the pop is 81, but still, dude, like, you know, jumping to $85,000 put a lot of people, made a lot of people really nervous about the card. I can't really talk about anything else, but I think that, the card, okay, in a week you'll find out about something else, but there's something, let me think about how to put this. I don't think that the sale is not legit, right? I think the sale is a legitimate sale, right? The guy bought it. Is it worth $85,000? People are still trying to figure this out right now. I know that there are a couple of negotiations going on about, with some private sales about, whether or not these cards are going to sell for the same amount. But people are hesitant to sell for less because they're looking at Pokemon and Magic and saying, if I sell my Blue Eyes at $85,000 now, I'm going to miss out on the 20 grand that the next one sells for. And so I don't want, and so what that does is it stretches the rubber band again, right? So the rubber band is, people see it sell for $85,000. People are not sure about that. And now the rubber band starts to stretch again, right? Until the next sale happens, right? So is the next sale going to be $85,000 or is it going to be over $100,000? So, it just depends. I mean, there are different varieties of Blue Eyes as well. There's wavy and there's glossy.
And there's a lot of different sets that include the exact same art too. So a buyer could be buying a card that they wouldn't even know. That's why, like, when I got back into a lot of this stuff and I was like trying to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh, oh fuck, I got so overwhelmed because like I was like, dude, there's like you're not even looking at the card, okay? You're looking at the code. Doesn't even fucking matter about the card, okay? You're looking at the code. So like it's so weird, and it was like really hard for me to want to like get back into that. And I can see how a buyer would just buy a different, art Blue Eyes and not even realize that it's not the original one.
Right. Or, the issue that a lot of people have is they just don't know Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Yes.
And so guys come into Yu-Gi-Oh and they're like, okay, so how does this compare to Pokemon, right? And then that's when they start saying, okay, is LOB the same thing as base set? It must be. It's the first booster set. Wrong, right? Yep. LOB is not going to be like base set. It's not. I mean, it can be.
Right.
I mean, the market can make it like can make LOB like base set.
Right.
But LOB is not like I have trouble trying to explain to people. And this happens a lot. People come and they're like, okay, so this is like, this in Pokemon. I'm like, no, like this is not. These two things are not the same. Like there are some similarities.
Right.
Unlimited Legend of Blue Eyes does have a shadowless like reprint, or not a reprint. Does have a shadowless like printing.
Yeah.
In that, the wavy and glossy varieties in first edition bleed into the original Unlimited sets. So the printers that made wavy and the printers that made glossy still had sheets left over after the printing was done for first edition. And so there are some Unlimiteds that are glossy, and there are some Unlimiteds that are wavy, and those are like shadowless. But that's like the very limit of my comparison to Pokemon, right? There is no card that is the Pikachu illustrator in Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, there are cards that are one of one.
Right. There's like trophy cards and stuff in Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that, but there's not nothing like that for sure. No, I think what's also cool though is like, I think that a lot of like you see a lot of like the rappers and the influential people like coming into Pokemon and stuff like that. But I think that there's just as many like rappers and influential people who are now all about Yu-Gi-Oh and have always probably been about Yu-Gi-Oh before they were about Pokemon. And so like, you look at these younger generations getting into Yu-Gi-Oh purely because their favorite rapper is into Yu-Gi-Oh. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think there's even like there's Blue Eyes White Dragon tennis shoes that like are produced that are like
I would never get caught wearing those things, but the concept is interesting.
Yeah, and I think even though
the aesthetics elude me.
Yep, but at the same time, you can see why somebody would want to wear it, and I think that that's why Yu-Gi-Oh will always have value and a markability to it, because a lot of these kids that are into Yu-Gi-Oh that now have become famous or big, they're going to be talking about it. And anime right now in general is super, super hot as well. Like Dragon Ball Z is extremely hot with all the kids.
They still got Toonami. Toonami's still on Cartoon Network.
Well, I mean, it came back.
Still air.
It came back. It stopped airing for a few years actually.
Oh,
like,
did it?
Yeah. Like they were making shit, dude. They were making any money, so they discontinued it for a few years, and then they brought it back because they were able to find the marketability again towards it. But anime in general is crazy hot right now, and I think that anybody who creates a collectible or like merchandise or anything around that, anime is gonna be a winner in the future, because now we're living, back in the day, in the 90s and in the early 2000s, you had to have a TV, and you had to either have access to just regular free television programming, which had like the Saturday morning cartoons and stuff like that I watched, or you actually had to have money and have cable, and have Cartoon Network and all the other animation stuff, right?
Yep. And your bootleg dial-up internet.
Exactly, but now you have it right in your phone.
Don't answer the phone.
You have it right in your phone. In your phone, and so any kid,
right here.
Every single kid on a bus can be watching anime. Every single, and I think that the availability to the anime is just so much wider. So I think you're going to see in like 10, 20 years, some of these animes like really become like a nostalgic market. Like you see Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Dude, we are getting there. I'm telling you, and it's happening fast. I mean, you talked about something that I always like to touch on, is that the hobby survives by
bringing in new people.
By creating new players,
generations.
There's a word for this, but bringing people in, dude, through inclusion, through influencers, through advertisement or whatever. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is no different, right? We want to cultivate an atmosphere that breeds inclusion. We want kids to come in. We want people to play the game. We want meta to thrive, and we want, exciting events, and we want good advertising, and we want video games, and we want tournaments and prizes and new rarities and new content for the collector base.
Exactly.
So that, we bring people in so that when old people like me get really old or die, right? Like there's somebody to replace me, right?
Yep.
There's somebody who knows what they're doing. And so, information, like the information that I build for PSA, the information that builds collectability, creates niche markets and markets inside markets, right? That's the information we want to produce and give out for free, for subscribers, for content, so that kids can see that and say, wow, okay, so I have actually, there's tons of ways to collect this stuff. I don't have to do it like he did it. I could do it any way I want to, right?
I know, I've talked about that before.
Anything.
Yep.
Yes. That's cool. What we want. We want people to see that there are things that are we're still finding things out about Yu-Gi-Oh! That there is depth that hasn't been discovered, that you can make a name for yourself by being somebody who creates new content, discovers new things, finds things, and creates a venue for people to actually get that information and do something with it. That's how we steward the profession. That's what you do. That is important. Rather than just being a quiet buyer or a quiet seller or, capitalizing on your knowledge and creating a position. You want to create competition, because that's what creates, new record prices, new collectability and things like that. That's my opinion.
No, I think you're pretty correct on that, because, like we were talking about coin collecting. Coin collecting has not really survived the generations. There's less and less and less people every generation that's interested in coin collecting. And you look at those like old tin toys. You look at those old tin toys from like the 30s and stuff. Who's collecting those?
Nobody.
Only kids who were alive during that time who were playing with those toys. And I think,
very few people.
When you look at like sports is like one of the first things that will always be multi-generational. It will always be passed down to the child, and the child will always want to be involved with what the parents are into, and the parents are always going to be into sports, and that's just, the way it is.
There's a thriving economy for sports. Right. Yeah. And athletics in general. I mean, and that's what creates that, but don't get it twisted. Like, investing is not collecting, right? These are not the same things. And I'm not making a semantics argument here. I'm literally telling you the fundamental thought behind the two things
exactly
is fundamentally different.
And that's
right?
why
And
you
so
see
when you
sports
look at coin collecting,
and everything else, you know, besides sports.
When you look at coin collecting, man, the like guys who stack, right? That's the word that they use, right?
Where they
guys
just stack coins,
bulk, bullion, you know, like so, like those guys are not collectors.
Yep.
They're speculators. They're investors. They like coins and they may collect coins, but stacking is not collecting, in my opinion, right? Because there's no depth, right? You're missing that actual collector attitude, right?
Exactly.
You want to know, okay, you know, what's the difference between this and this? Like, how do I know? And there are, I mean, numismatics is an established, it's like almost a religion, right? I mean, it is a big deal. It's been around for millennia.
Yeah.
Right? As long as there have been coins, there have been collectors of it.
Yep.
That's why ancient coins still exist, because people in the 1500s collected Roman coins, right? I mean, all of these things, you know, have been around forever. And so the literature, the scholarship, the academic, all of that is established. It's been there for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Right. And we are a very young hobby. I mean, if you think about trading cards go back to maybe the 1800s. Like the 1880s when they were putting presidents on these things.
Right. And like little, I wouldn't even consider them cards. I would consider them like little tickets almost to like, you know, like
they're like,
Yep.
And it's not really a trade. I mean, it's a trading card because it's not like a sport or whatever.
Right.
But, you know, back then they used to give out, you know, images of famous people like Ulysses S. Grant, you know, Indian chiefs and Native American chiefs like Chief Red Cloud and big famous people, and have them sign it. Like, so that culture does exist and has existed for a long time.
Right.
But for like, you know, modern
compared to coins, it's
like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty cool to see, especially with like, you know, I'm seeing Pokemon, you know, I'm very glad that they at least kept the anime all these years, even at their lowest point when they were making the least amount of money. They kept it going just because they truly believed in what they created. And that was, you know, when you saw Niantic bring up Pokemon Go, and then it was off. You know, everybody came storming right back. Yeah. And in that first year, Niantic made $1 billion. They made so much money, bro. And that's when Pokemon was like, we have to come on in here. No big deal.
This is the answer. This is the moment, right? This is what we want to do.
And that was what Pokemon, that was that hobby needed. You know what I'm saying? And you're seeing like Digimon being reproduced. I don't know anything about what they're doing, but like
I don't know anything about Digimon.
It like, well, Digimon, you've obviously heard of it. But like,
I know what Digimon is, but I don't know like any. I never watched the show, and I never collected the cards.
Right. Okay, so they had just reproduced. They're like, I think they're trying to bring it back, you know. And I don't know if there is an anime or like there's other merchandise, but I'm not seeing anything about that. I'm only seeing people like talk about the cards, and I'm like, well, Digimon has to hurry up and come up with something to make it collectible to the new people, not just to the people who knew it from being a kid in the 90s, right? They need to bring in the new generation, and then that's how you create.
DBS did this well.
Yep.
Right? DBS created a game, and I don't know if the game is good or not. I hear conflicting reviews, but
which game are you talking about? Is it Budokai?
Brings more people in. What's that?
Is it? Which game are you talking about for DBZ? Is it
DBS,
Budokai?
No, I mean the DBS card game itself, the Dragon Ball Super card game.
Yep.
Right? And so, you know, they created new Dragon Ball cards, but they actually made a competitive game with prize cards, with tournaments, you know, because they always have video games and they still have shows.
And Dragon Ball Z video games have been always super popular and super successful too. Like the Budokai series.
It's the anime version of, well, I guess I can't say it's the anime version of Tekken because Tekken is kind of like anime.
Yeah, but it doesn't have a TV show to back it up. And like I was like watching, you know, the toys that made us and stuff, and you see a lot of those toys that had crazy success. What did they have behind them? They had a TV show. They had some kind of airing weekly or daily to the viewers and to the potential buyers. And I'm not seeing Digimon do any of that. So like, I'm really, I don't know, interested to see if they're going to, because if they don't, I think they're doomed to fail again. And Digimon, what did Digimon do? They failed because it was kind of like a competition to Pokemon, right? It's a play on the name. It's a ripoff of the name right out of the way.
So much better.
So much better. And everybody was like, Pokemon stands for Pocket Monsters, and then Digimon is Digital Monsters. And everybody went right to Pokemon, and it was really different because they kind of released at the same time, right? Within a couple of years of each other.
Pokemon made sense. I mean, everything,
Pokemon did make sense.
You could actually go through Pokemon and be like, okay, yes, this is all like, imaginary. Put the fourth wall aside real quick. Inside of that game, it makes sense, right? I didn't see the same thing from Digimon. And they're like, Digimon is a meme, because of that, right? So you got this thing that evolves into a refrigerator and then a toaster.
Yep. I've seen that. Like, yeah, because they had to really be dramatic about it, to order to kind of, take it up a notch from Pokemon. They had to be really dramatic for sure.
Yeah. Talking about DBS, I mean, when people talk to me about, because I see some people, I do get some messages about DBS because I did delve into, Dragon Ball Super for a little bit in the cards, and people would message me and say, is this worth investing in? And I would say, if you want to invest in Dragon Ball, invest in Score. Yep. Limited edition Score. That's the Dragon Ball Z, or that's the Dragon Ball stuff that people are going to want.
Right. So
when you look at Dragon Ball and you think, okay,
I'm not really versed in Dragon Ball, so you're teaching me. So continue on.
Well, I mean, and I'm not as well versed as I should be, but when I think about Dragon Ball, I don't think about DBS, right? I like DBS, and I like the art on a lot of the special rares, like the Frieza Emperor, Universe 7, or whatever. But when I think about Dragon Ball cards, I want DBZ, Score, and I want the limited edition. I want Super Saiyan 3 Goku, right? First, that is the pinnacle, right, of DBZ in my opinion, right? Because I don't think there were any prize cards for DBZ.
No, I don't think there was either. I would love to see if there was. I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that would be really cool.
I'm out of my depth here, but I think about limited edition DBZ Super Saiyan 3 Goku first. Yeah. Then you've got the other limited editions like Frieza, like Majin Vegeta. All of those cards, like, they have a lot of depth that matters. Like, yes, DBS is cool. Yes, the offshoot is cool. Yes, they got rid of GT. Okay, GT isn't cool. The cards didn't look that cool. But the actual like Boo Saga, the Android Saga cards, like those cards, people loved that show because when that show aired, we were at the right age to target. And we remember that, and that's nostalgic. That's iconic. That's what we remember. And so when you think about that, and the art looks good, the aesthetics are right, and it has a limited edition, right?
I think Pokemon should follow suit, something like that, and it bothers me.
Oh, that there's no first ed anymore?
Well, sort of, and first ed, but at least like some kind of limited edition cards, or I've been talking about this with sports people, and you see that a lot of other places where everybody knows there's only 100 of those cards ever printed. There's only this much of that card ever printed, and nobody knows that about Pokemon. And there is no specific cards besides trophy cards that are on an extreme limited known printing basis. And I think Pokemon would really survive and be even hotter than what they are right now if they just released a product like that. That was, they release the premium boxes and all that, and that's not really what I mean. I mean numbered cards like they have in sports, and I mean the word limited edition printed directly on the fucking card. Yeah. I'm talking a lot of specific things that you do for this specific card release that can attract even more people into the hobby that are not, and I think the sports aspect of 1 of 1 or 1 of 10. Can you imagine a 1 of 10 Charizard or a 1 of 1 Charizard?
With the actual, you're talking about with the literal 1 of 10,
where they write on it 1 of 1 or 1 of 10.
1 of 10.
Or 3 of 10 or 7 of 10, right? And so there's actual known printing numbers. I can guarantee you would see a Pokemon card be more than $1 million. Imagine
if Pokemon actually released these big $1,000 packs like they do in sports, where you could pull a thing out and it would say, okay, if you send this into Pokemon, we will send it to Fukuda and he will sign it.
Or it's already signed. Or it's already signed. Like a rookie auto patch or like a rookie sketch patch. That would be dope if they like had Fukuda sketch the Pokemon on a piece of paper and then cut out little squares and then made like a 1 of 10 series. Oh, dude. I'd be irate,
are you
bro.
listening?
Yeah, right? Please, Pokemon, take fucking notes, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Recently took a dive into making things in booster sets that are more rare. So there are, I mean, if you want to talk like Yu-Gi-Oh! History, there is a litany of, you know, precedent for rarities in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it hasn't gotten any less rare. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has consistently made things more rare.
Yep.
So if you look at the TCG alone, the rarest thing when the TCG debuted in 2002 was a tournament pack ultra rare. 1 in 108 packs, 20 card box, or 20 pack box, 3 card pack, right? 1 in 18 packs has a super rare. So you get 1 super rare, maybe 2. I've had boxes with 2.
Yeah.
In a box tournament pack. This is a $1,000 box. You're pulling 60 cards, dude. You get 60 cards in the box.
That's amazing.
And then you get 1 in 6 have a rare, 1 in 18 have a super rare, 1 in 108. So 5 boxes in, you could conceptually not get an ultra rare.
I just pulled this actually.
Pack 4, never pulled an ultra rare.
Do you know this one says first edition on it? Do you know if it's super rare?
That's a ghost rare. Wing Dragon of Ra from the
it says LED 7. I can't even remember.
Legendary Duelist. I forget the name of the actual set, right?
Yeah.
So it's the 5th release of the TCG's Legendary Duelist set. It was the first re-release of Ghosts since they took Ghosts away and I'm going to get crucified again because I'm like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Expert, you know, and people are going to be like, I can't believe you can't remember everything. And I'm be like, come on, man.
You got it, bud. You got it. Pull it. Pull it out. What is it?
So I don't know. I don't know what the last Ghost rare was. I think it was I'm gonna Mobius, maybe. No, probably not.
What year? Do you know what year?
No, I
My guess is 2013, and I don't know shit about you. No.
I know that the last Ultis were released in the Dimensions of Chaos, I think. And then the Ultis after that are only Astral Pack. But, I mean, we're talking about rarity, right? Ultra rares in tournament packs, 1 in 108. That was the rarest thing that existed up until they released Ghosts. Yeah. Ghosts came out with Tactical Evolution. And Rainbow Dragon was the first Ghost Rare to be released. As long as you're not counting the unique test print Power the Duelist OCG, right? 1 of 1, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
You know, there is one. I've seen it. It's owned by a misprint collector. I assume it's like.
Has it been authenticated or no?
No. But a lot of these guys don't want to send it to PSA, and I don't know that PSA would even be able to authenticate it because, you know, there's no history of it really existing.
Right.
So,
okay.
You know, there's a lot of gray area there. And
I want PSA to start doing that to, you know, really start being able to authenticate those one-off type cards because I think that adds a unique ability.
I think legally because they don't want to authenticate something that doesn't have a history of existing under the assumption that it is real when it could be not. You see what I'm saying? Like, so
yeah, I get that 100%. I mean, like, there's got to be like some kind of history.
I'm putting my PSA hat on right now.
Yeah, right. There's got to be some history that one can find of that existing, you know, and like I think that was recently done with those test print Blastoises or whatever that CGC ended up grading that PSA couldn't authenticate, and like there was a lot of there's a lot of backstory to that, and like WotC employees coming out, you know, and saying this was a legitimate thing and da 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 da.
Yes. This is hard in Konami's world because we don't have that kind of connection.
Right.
So like a Konami Upper Deck employee coming out and be like, yes, I was there when this was made. Yeah. I was on the staff when we talked about this or whatever. You know, and so that outreach that you would want, you know, from a PSA perspective to validate the card just isn't there, right? And so it's challenging, I think, you know, to authenticate something when you can't say, yeah, I can vouch that this is actually authentic or not.
Right.
Right.
And do you think human you know, I don't know how to say it, like the bad parts of human character could ever, you know, say something false in order to be, you know, authenticated to financially gain from it.
You mean like people would lie to make
and
money?
all this was actually printed in our facility, but it wasn't. But it's because I own a copy of it. You know, that's why I say it's real.
Well, this is the problem I have with proxies, right? Because some proxies are really well made, but they like the seller is saying, "Oh, I advertise it as a proxy," but nowhere on the card does it say it's a proxy. And so, in like 10 years after this is traded hands for multiple times, like you hit that
and
one.
People forget that this producer made them.
One guy with malicious intent takes that card and puts it up on eBay and sells it to a guy who thinks it's real. That guy buys it and thinking it's real and sends it to PSA. And now, right, I have to contend with whether or not this card is real or not when it comes time to figure out, you know, if it's good to grade or not. Or even worse, it gets graded and then the seller, you know, takes it, or the grader takes it and sells it to somebody who sells it to somebody who has it in the shop. And then somebody like me shows up and says, well, this is fake.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's traded hands so many times that the traceability no longer exists.
Yeah.
And you can't return it. And now that guy wants to sue PSA, you know, because PSA authenticated it and I should be able to buy anything I want with the PSA label and it should be exactly as it says on the PSA label, stuff like that. You know, and it's not unreal for a customer to expect that, but it's also extremely challenging in the modern world in the digital world, in the digital age, when you could literally make cards that are like, you know, 99% of a real card.
Right.
So how do you contend with that?
I don't know, man. It's crazy. And that's like the same thing as like why I don't really like light packs. Because, you know, it could just switch so many hands and nobody knows about those packs anymore. And then boom, suddenly they're unweighed packs, you know, and that's
why. The problem with alpha and beta packs.
Yeah, and I know that Yu-Gi-Oh packs are probably, I've never even heard of, you know, weighing packs in Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm sure that's an issue as well.
It is prolific.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, those cards are easily detectably weighable from you know, that perspective. So I can see why people fucking do that. And it's wrong. I hate light packs. Like anytime I want to see a light pack is when it's encased by PSA. That's the only fucking time I want to see a light pack. You know, like straight up.
I mean, if you buy a pack from PSA, you know, it doesn't matter if it's light or not conceptually. I mean, you're buying.
Well, right, and that's why you know, like I've been a part of breaks. I've been a part of breaks where, you know, all the packs are random, but if it's a heavy pack, it gets open, and if it's a light pack, it's going straight to PSA and getting graded. And that's why I have some amazing PSA 10 packs that I'm super proud of. That because of that, they got graded, and I also think it's an important way to keep a lot of those packs off the market as a box breaker or as a provider, distributor of some way in these packs and boxes to help keep all that off of the market.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to protect the market fully, right? I mean, and just like it's impossible for PSA to never damage a card, or BGS to never damage a card, or for, you know, BGS to never grade a card incorrectly, because you got the human in the loop. You've got probability versus volume.
Yep.
Right? You will inevitably have this. This is why insurance exists. If PSA got it right every time, why would they need insurance?
Exactly.
They get it right all the time. They don't need insurance.
Yep.
Right? You need that, right? That happens. Right. Yep. And so it's unrealistic for people, I think, to expect that PSA, BGS, CGC, you know, any grading company is always going to get it right every single time.
Yep.
It's impossible. It's a statistical impossibility to do it, right? Over an infinite period of time.
Yeah, over an infinite. Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, I think PSA's biggest problem is keeping employees at the rate that they want to pay them, just because that there's.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I've been to PSA headquarters, and I have. I've seen where they are. They're in the corporate area in Calabasas, and the median income's already over $100,000.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so like,
I know it's expensive.
so PSA, just to be able to compete in the job market there, they have to pay that much. And I think that, you know, there's not enough people who want to take, you know, a salary dive almost to go work at PSA and grade cards by the 10,000ths of, you know, every week. And it's a really, you know, it's like, it's kind of like a factory job, just a well-paying factory job, you know?
It's probably like a factory line. I mean,
yeah,
you know, you get a card, you get this much time. I assume, like, I don't know, and I'll abstain.
Right.
Here, but you know, I know that, you know, the area is expensive and that
the cost of living is extremely high. Like, there's nobody who's gonna want to take a job at PSA for $50,000 a year and then have to spend $40,000, you know, on living, and then, you know, you're getting taxed the other $10,000, and then where does that leave you?
And I tell you, man, like, even for me, like, I do the stuff I do with PSA out of love for the hobby, and because I want to insulate the hobby from negative influences as much as I can, and to help the hobby grow and to steward the profession and bring people in, produce information and content that's real, is honest, right, and an actual representation of the market that we either are looking at or want. Right? Those are the things that I took the job for. I didn't take the job because they're paying me, you know, enough money so I can go down and buy a Bugatti from the, you know.
How did you get hooked up with PSA, if you don't mind me asking?
I was contacted on Instagram.
Really?
By the account manager for the Instagram account. Yeah. And
crazy.
He was like, you know, we're looking for a guy who knows about Yu-Gi-Oh! And, you know, we love the content that you produce. And, you know, I was grading and collecting a lot of PSA stuff at the time.
Right.
The market was
so they knew you by account name as well and everything. Yeah.
They reached out to me on social media.
Crazy.
Right? And I wasn't like a prolific guy yet. I mean, I was just a collector with, you know, a decent rep, and I had maybe like 1,000 followers. And, you know, I messaged the guy or the gal that they sent me to, and we conducted an interview, and, you know, we agreed on, you know, terms, and I took the job. I mean,
that's cool.
And I always consider that, you know, whatever it is I get paid, right, that the other half of the paycheck that I would ostensibly make if I didn't care about the market and I was just in it for the money is paid by the community that I represent, right? I really find value in being able to represent the hobby at PSA and to bring that into PSA's doorway and say, look, we are a part of a bigger thing than just the money. And PSA recognizes that, and they want to represent the market and the hobby because they understand that there's value in being a part of a larger community, and that the community finding value, or the community finding value, or finding PSA finding value, right?
Right.
If the community thinks that PSA values and actually does value right, the hobby, that they are more apt to go to PSA because PSA represents the values that the Yu-Gi-Oh community has. And that's important, right? Because millennials are very concerned about ethics, morals, and things like that.
100,000%. More than anybody else really ever.
Yes, it's very important. Integrity is important, right? And you want to represent. So when we build price guides, PSA, right? The price guides aren't inflated based on shilling, right? And so when you talk to a guy, you know, who shills the blue eyes, and he's like, why isn't the PSA guide for the blue eyes the value that I shilled the auction to at? Because you shilled the auction. Because we know you shilled the auction, right? Because we know that the value of the card, or that this value is at least a statistical outlier. If I didn't know that it was shilled, I would still say, hey, look, this is a statistical outlier.
Exactly. I mean, you know what I mean? When you see a card like that jump, and it's when there's other availability on the market, like, it's just not really.
There's 81 of them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is the next one going to sell for $85,000?
Any one of those people, I'm sure, didn't pay anywhere near that amount of money. Who would want to cash out at that time, you know? So then after that, you would, even if it wasn't shilled, you would still see at least, you know, 5% of the market become available, and then do it that way.
You see that, right? So you see
that.
I could talk historical
with base set boxes. You don't really know about base set boxes, but after base set boxes and all that became super popular, and then they were going for like $35,000 to $40,000 at the time.
I remember when base set was like $500.
30, 40 base set boxes came on the market.
Then.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was overpriced in 2016 when it was $500 for unlimited. And now, they're $30,000 now or whatever.
Well, right now, the last auction that was Heritage Auction sold for $28,800, but they were selling for $40,000. And when you saw that sell close to that, is when you also saw like 20, 30 boxes come onto the market and suddenly become available. And then boom, you have one after another becoming available to the market. And that was the biggest thing that like people try to use Pokemon as a case study and try to say that it was a bubble and all this stuff, is because a PSA 9 base set Charizard at the time before the rise was selling for around $1,600, which I want to note is about 3-4 times what it was selling for in March of the same year. Okay.
Yep.
So even though before all this super boom, it was still going for a lot more than what it was. And then you saw it go boom. It went to like 5,600, almost 7,000. I think is like the 6,100. I think is like the highest I saw.
I remember seeing the memes in my group chat.
Yeah. And what did you see? That not a lot of people are being hip to, like, when they're trying to buy Pokemon. It's like it's more of an emotional thing and not an educational thing, you know. Yeah. So they just buy a PSA 9 Charizard because it's a PSA 9 Charizard. It's the second best card you can get for Charizard. Blah 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 blah. But they don't realize that a PSA 9 Charizard has a population of over 5,000. Even though that population is very misrepresented with the cards that were being cracked.
20% less than that.
Yeah, 100%. But still, that's still 5 figures of, or 4 figures of. That's crazy. That's insane. 4, so what did you see? You saw that PSA 9 Charizard sell for $6,100, and then boom, 20% of the market became available, and ending. Hour after hour after hour for the next 2 weeks was PSA 9 Charizards. And boom, that's how you see a card go right back down, is when almost the entire rest, and it's not even like the entire rest of the market, because that's such a huge market. There's so much availability for that card. Wow. PSA 9 being that much it blows my mind. It blows my mind. It really does. And it's a Charizard. You know, I would say it would be a little bit different if it was, you know, like a Pokemon that wasn't as prolific as Charizard, but this is Charizard, and it's supposed to be rare, and it's supposed to be the highest echelon of Pokemon, you know, and all these collectors' eyes.
It's supposed to be an Apex collectible card.
Exactly.
It's
and
like the top of the market.
It really shows that it isn't.
Mover, as I would say in a lot of my articles for PSA, like there are collectibles and then there are collectibles.
Exactly.
Right? And the difference is huge, right? Because some of the cards, like, they are market movers. When a Blue Eye sells for $85,000, it moves the entire market with it.
Yep.
The entire market comes with it. When a Jinzo sells for over $2,500,
I love that
the
card.
Entire market comes with it. When Morphing Jar sells for over $10,000, the entire market comes with it, right? Those cards are market movers. They're big deal cards.
Yep.
And those are the ones that you want to watch to actually look at the health of the actual market itself. Because, nines, you know, there's tons of them, right? Blue Eyes collectors are dealing with this now because they think that there's a ratio that exists between the 9 and the 10 for value, and it doesn't. It doesn't exist. 10s are going to outpace 9s exponentially.
Yeah.
Because 9s are just more available, and people want 10s, and they settle for 9.
Yep.
And so when you look at 9s and 10s and you say, okay, well, this 10 sold for $85,000, my 9 must be worth like $35K. Wrong, right?
Yep.
Wrong. Because 9s don't have an equatable value to 10 necessarily speaking, right? And so people will want to pay you for a 9, but they're not going to pay you, you know, $35,000 for a 9. They're going to offer you 12, 15, maybe. Right, and you can hold out,
and it's not objective at all. It's not. Every card's PSA 9 performs differently than its 10. Every single one.
Yeah,
and I've seen cards, you know, like closer, like the PSA 9 Crystal Charizard. That's like almost half of what a PSA 10 is. But if you look at a PSA 10,
thinking about those Zards.
But I mean, a PSA 10 Crystal Charizard, that one's at least, you know, less than 100 in PSA 10 pop. Even the base set Unlimited Charizard in a PSA 10, I think is like 500 or 400. It's a lot. Like, I mean, it's a lot less than PSA 9, but still.
I had a 9 Crystal that I bought for $300 in 2016, right? And I sold it, I think, to this guy named PokeSoul in Canada, right? And he regraded it a 10, right? And then it was worth like, I sold some for like $800 or something like that.
Yeah, and you're patting yourself on the back. You're like, I fucking doubled my money. No big deal.
I made some money, right? And my old man dad is like, sell all those Pokemon cards. They ain't worth shit, son. and so I did, right? I sold it, right? I sold the card, upgraded it to a 10. Now it's like a $20,000 card. I'm like, fuck, man.
Yep.
I could have had it.
Yep.
But, I mean, it's water under the bridge. But, I gave my Pokemon cards to my sister a while back, before the boom. And I don't look back on that at all. I'm happy, that
at least you kept it in the family and, she can appreciate it if she does. Yeah.
And they were just sitting collecting dust because I'm so involved with Yu-Gi-Oh! Now that I just don't have the time of day to like look at those cards and buy more Pokemon cards. And now I don't have the bankroll to do it either. And, so it's just like, Yu-Gi-Oh! To me is like, it's worth it to me to invest all of my time into something to be an expert rather than to invest a little bit of time into everything to be like a master of none, really.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
So I would rather spend the time doing that and to come on here and talk to you about depth in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Market than to be like, oh yeah, I know a little bit about everything. What do you want to know about, basic economics?
Right. I mean, we could talk about that all day, and that's I want to know more of the guy behind the account, and I want to know a lot of what you're into and how I think your perspective is a very important one to share, just because you're in a very unique spot and not a lot of people are in that same spot. So it's important to hear this.
I love variety hunting in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there's still a ton of, like I said, depth in the market to find. You can look at varieties, and then the other thing I like to look at is finding marketability in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Does it exist? Does it not? If it does exist, where is it, and why does it exist? And so we talked about rarity earlier on, and the transition from ultra rares in tournament packs being the rarest 1 in 100 to ghost rares in GX and 5Ds, and Zexal being the rarest with 1 in 244 pack pulls.
That's crazy. That raw, it was funny because I bought like 3 boxes, and the first box I didn't get anything, and then the very first pack of the second box, I was like, wouldn't this be hilarious if it was a ghoster? Boom, and I was like, oh shit, I don't even have to open up none of those packs.
One per case, right?
That's crazy.
That's the ghost rare average.
Yep.
Is 1 in 244, so it's 24 in a box.
I like those rarities. I wish that Pokemon would go back to that, at least that, because like with the gold stars, that's why I think gold stars are like the highest echelon of rarity in any PSA grade, because there was just so little of it printed, and sometimes it took 3 boxes to get a gold star. It was normally 1 in 2, but it could be 1 in 3 sometimes, and that's wow.
Yeah, and ghost rares are 1 in a case, and Starlight.
How many boxes are in a case? Is it 10?
Thing. What?
How many boxes are in a case?
12.
12.
Sorry.
Damn.
12 boxes in a case. Yeah, 24 packs in a box, 12 boxes in a case.
That's insane.
Right? And so the newest rarity, the newest big rarity was when they announced the Starlight Rare. So Starlight Rares are 1 in every other case.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Like 1 in 400 or 500 packs. It's like
that's what I think
there's 5
is
of them
cool. That's
in every set.
That's what I want. I want more of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To pull that ghost rare, that was badass. 1 in 1 case. Like I didn't even know it was 1 in 12 like chances. 1 in 12 boxes on average, right? And then the Starlight, because ghosts come in first edition and unlimited. Starlights only come in first edition, and so when you get an unlimited release of a set in the newest modern set, you cannot get a Starlight Rare. I was getting.
Can't do it.
What was it? Toon Chaos is the one that kind of like brought me back a little bit in terms of just buying the new product. I know. I really wish I bought like 3 first edition boxes, and I didn't want to spend any more money on it. And all my friends were like, "No, you should buy it. You should buy it." And I didn't listen.
Yeah,
I should have.
I think collector's rares for Toon Chaos and other offshoot sets like those exist in unlimited.
Okay,
But
I'm a first edition guy. I'm a first edition guy. If you're gonna give me a choice between unlimited and first edition, it's first edition every time. And I think that's how a lot of other collectors are too. I mean, That's why it's first edition, because it's first edition.
I'll caveat that a little bit because I think that there is something worth looking into there, right? So is first edition always, should it be the default answer? If you don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, yes. Yes. The answer should be yes. If you don't know anything about, if you're just coming in, if you're a speculator, an investor, and you haven't read a single thing and you're too lazy to watch a YouTube video that I have on my YouTube page, fine. Buy first edition.
Right.
But if you do know about Unlimited, right? Unlimited has a ton of reprints. You can really get burned on Unlimited if you buy a modern reprint thinking it's an original card.
Right.
You really need to know your shit to get it right. But if you do, and you can crack the code and figure out, or if you just want to DM me and spam me pictures, right?
Yeah.
I will try and find the time to answer you while I'm sitting on the pot.
Yeah.
And it's like there is value in Unlimited if you can find original copies from 2002 and 2003. And if they're in mint condition, it's almost worth buying those over damaged first edition cards. Because, like you say, there are tons of 9s, 8s, 7s, and the more damage you pile onto that card, the more available they become.
Yep.
Right? So it's harder to find mint, unlimited, original cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh sets from the first sets from Classic than it is to find a first edition damaged Injection Fairy Lily. It is. And
oh my God.
You have an eye
Injection
for
Fairy
quality,
Lily.
Love it. Love that card. I still play Classic. I don't play Go as much, but I love Go.
If I was gonna get back into playing Yu-Gi-Oh, it would be Classic. That's where I kind of fell off, was all the tuner stuff and all the fairy stuff. I was not really into it. The XYZ shit, I was like, oh, come on. I mean, like, you're just trying to make it more complex, like it's awesome the way it is, and I loved it that way. But I remember when I was like 12 years old, I think, I worked my ass off for a whole summer, right? And like my uncle owned a business, and he's like, come and work for me. I won't pay you, but at the end of the summer, whatever you want, I'll buy you it, and I'll buy a big, if I wanted like a PlayStation or whatever I wanted, he was going to buy it for me. And so I told him, I was like, no, I want a shit ton of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And he bought me a ton of it. And I ended up with 3 first edition Injection Fairy Lilies, out of them. Dude. Oh my God. And I just thought it was, and that card in itself, was an extremely playable card. And that's what I talk about.
Beat stick. Huge beat stick, man.
Yeah. And that's what I talk about in modern Pokemon is the modern playability versus the modern collectability. Okay. Because there's 2 different markets always for Pokemon. And one of them is the playability of that card.
My interest. This is big. This is really big. I mean, when you look to invest in cards, people remember the crap they played. Exactly. Yes, you have to go and have to know what meta is if you want to invest in modern. If you don't know meta, you don't invest in modern.
And luckily, though, that Pokemon is usually pumping in some type of collectible card into it as well. That's more collectible than it is playable. So it doesn't really see any type of dip in the market once it falls out of rotation. Because that's where a lot of those playable cards, they lose their ability to perform in the market after they rotate out, because none of these tournaments are using them anymore. So none of these people have them in their decks. And a lot of the times Pokemon has a full art, right?
Playable and collectible.
Yes.
That's the best. If you can get a card that's playable, dude, I'm gonna name drop Appaloosa. Appaloosa is gonna be a $10,000 card, dude.
Crazy.
It's gonna be a $10,000 card. All right. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't know shit about Yu-Gi-Oh, buy Starlight Appaloosa.
Starlight Appaloosa.
I have no position in the market. I don't own any Appaloosa. I'm not saying this to pump up my own profile.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Appaloosa is the Starlight to buy. It's one of the first, right?
Yeah.
It's among the first Starlights ever released. Only in first edition.
Yep.
Every other case to just get a Starlight, and there's 4 of them. So if you wanted to pull an Appaloosa,
so it was like 8 cases.
Open 8 cases.
Fuck that.
It's not possible, dude. It's not going to be possible in 10 years. $10,000 card. I promise you.
That's
crazy. And it's Starlight, so a lot of them come off center. That wax coating or that sheen is delicate, right?
Yep.
And so any of them that were played could very easily be damaged, like 1 scratch, PSA 9. Right? The 10s are worth it. It's worth the buy.
Yep.
If you can get one for 15 or 2,000, buy it. You won't regret it. I'm telling you. It's a huge thing.
I'm gonna check it out, because I've been collecting more Pokemon lately, and the Toon Chaos with the collector rare I thought was pretty interesting. And it's just it's really cool to see the difference in like Yu-Gi-Oh versus Pokemon in their collectability and playability, because like I was just saying that Ejection Fairy Lily at the time was an extremely collectible card.
Everybody ran it. Well, not everybody, but I mean,
a lot of people ran it in their deck. So it was not only a playable card and a collectible card. It was a fucking secret rare, all right?
Yeah.
And just like you're talking about with that Starlight card, that's where you're going to see the availability be non-existent in years to come. Yeah, because that's insane. Like, Injection Fairy Lily being a secret rare, like, there was only supposed to be 1 in 2 boxes, right? Or 1 in 3 boxes for a secret rare?
Or 2 in 3, I think.
2 in 3?
It's like 1 in 41 packs or
and
like
each
that.
set at the time had like 3 or 4 secret rares, right?
Every classic set has 2. The first one and the last card in the set. Then the hobby boxes, the 24s, have the 000 Yada for Legacy of Darkness, and the 36s have the last card, which would be Injection, which would be 100. So there's 101 cards in Legacy of Darkness. Now, Legend of Blue Eyes Metal Raiders, Invasion of Chaos and Ancient Sanctuary always come in 24s, and so you have to know the IPC or the product code to know which one is hobby and which one is retail.
That's crazy.
I mean, at this point, the information is public knowledge.
Right.
I even created a like 87-page PowerPoint for PSA so that they could see the differences in the packs that were reprinted in 2002 and the packs that were reprinted in 2017.
Yeah.
I mean, and now PSA is producing graded packs that say 2017 Legend of Blue Eyes. So every pack that comes out of PSA's hands is not going to say 2002 anymore.
That's crazy.
We did it.
That's crazy.
Huge deal. Because it protects vintage product.
To be able to differentiate, that's important.
Product. Right.
And that was like one of the things that, I kind of like steered away from, I told you earlier, being overwhelmed because there's so many reprints of fucking the same card, and the only thing that's differentiating them, it's not. I would be a little bit more, towards this is a decent thing if they were actually differentiating them, like at least by the fucking date on the bottom of the card. Okay, like I don't know why the copyright says the same original 1995 date, and it doesn't say anything. 1996, and it doesn't say shit, and it's just so confusing. It really is. I want to be able to like know 100% that this is not going to be a reprint, and.
It makes me pull my hair out, dude. I'm going gray because of it, because of Konami. Like I went gray in Afghanistan because of Afghans. Not talking about. I don't want to disparage Afghanistan, but
I see what you're saying.
It was hard. I mean, it was.
Well,
hard work.
being over there,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But, and then like differentiating between Konami reprints. These are almost equatable, right? I mean, these things are. It's extremely hard to do this. Right?
Yeah.
Like it really is hard to do this.
And when the data doesn't exist, you're kind of fucked.
You have to do, I am doing the work. I'm building the wheel.
Like,
I have to do it. Like, because PSA is creating labels for cards that don't accurately represent.
And that's a huge thing for me. It's a huge thing for me is the label correctly identifying the card.
People are mad about it. And it's I'm torn because, one, this is Konami's fault. Right. I mean, this is not PSA's fault. They didn't make the card this way. And it is extremely hard to tell the difference. I mean, and me telling a guy at PSA who doesn't know about Yu-Gi-Oh, like this is the reason why PSA hires experts, because these guys who grade stuff, like, yes, they are experts and yes, they are graders, but do these guys know the very minute difference between the text on a 2002 and a 2017, right? That's my job. If you're mad about it,
that's important.
Me, like I'm working on it.
Right. Like I wouldn't, like there's, when you go to hire somebody to be a consultant for your company, I think, the knowledge base shouldn't be because purely of an education standpoint. I think it should be from a passion standpoint. And you're very passionate about Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think that shows in terms of your ability to gather information for a company. And that's extremely, extremely important to differentiate those two. And it shows somebody who's in it because of the love, and the knowledge, that's coming from out of love is going to be more genuine and 9 times out of 10 more accurate than somebody who's doing it from a pure education or pure monetary financial gain standpoint. You know what I'm saying? And so
let me tell you, I mean, PSA expects me to tell them what they need to focus on in some form or another, right? So when I go to PSA and I say, look, there are these reprints and this is going to cause a problem.
Yep.
And they're like, okay, we want to invest time into this because PSA pays me to do this, right? So it's not because, I did this. PSA is making the effort to understand the market in a better way, right? Yep. So kudos to them because, I'm not aware of BGS doing this and I'm not aware of CGC grading anything Yu-Gi-Oh at all. And that's not to disparage those companies, but the expertise required to do this is I mean, it's another level. You can't hire a guy and he'll be like, oh, you know what?
Yeah, you can't get Joe Schmo off the street and have it do that. Yeah, no. It's not, we're not putting CD cases together. It's not, it may feel like a factory job, but it's not a factory job. And I think that also, if you're gonna expect people to grade things at the best of their ability, you also have to pay them to the best of your ability. And a lot of underpaid people that feel they're underpaid are always gonna do a worse job than somebody who's feeling appreciated by the company. And so for to be able to go over to BGS and not have that same ability, I think is huge for PSA and probably the best move that they can make for a hobby to be able to gather the market into your hands, because that's what these grading companies want, right? They want everybody coming to them for their grading services. And now that there's another third big player trying to be into it, it's even harder to keep those into your hands. And something like that Blastoise could have been PSAs or BGSs, but they don't have the expertise and the consulting to differentiate what's going on in that market and how those cards can affect it, right?
I mean, well, let me tell you, my goal always is, conceptually to bring the business and the community to the table to agree on what's right moving forward.
Exactly.
And when they do agree, that's the best. That's the best end result, right? Is when you can get the hobby to say, this is what we want, and the business to say, this is what we want to do.
Yep.
Right. And that doesn't always happen. And
it doesn't. And I think that
reasons.
Your position is allowing that to happen. So that's important. That's amazing.
Absolutely. For me right now, or for whoever sits in, where I sit now later on, I mean, because this is not infinite. I can't do this forever, but
I know. I feel that totally.
Yeah, but
have they ever offered you to go move out there?
Big deal. Yeah, but I mean, there's a whole reason why I can't do that. Like, I have a whole career with the U.S. government.
Right, and that's
my retirement package with the U.S. government is like
beautiful.
Yeah,
I feel that.
There's no private company that can match the retirement package. Imagine in 20 years you make 50% of your highest pay for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
and you don't work.
Who's
going to match that? Nobody. The answer is nobody.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? So, I don't mind doing the work. Like, I love working for PSA. I really do. And they are extremely open-minded about a lot of the stuff that, I bring to the table. But, again, it's, getting the collector community and the business to sit down at the table and agree. And at the end of the day, I got to respect PSA's decision, right? Because they're a business, right? And they have liability. And they have underwriting, and they have employees, and they have, stakeholders.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Especially
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Yeah. They have an image and to represent and stuff like that. And so, it's important for me to not only take the collecting community's opinion into consideration, but to understand PSA's perspective on it as well. And that's, the goal is to, because you have in business and in negotiating, you have a ZOPA, a zone of possible agreement. And, sometimes it's not possible to get the two parties into that zone because it's too narrow.
Right.
Sometimes it's wide. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah. So. What do you think about Nat Turner joining and buying everything up?
I mean, it's so big PSA that it doesn't affect me at all. I mean, and I prefer.
Do you
it that
think
way.
that move is good for the hobby and the business in general? Because I've heard a lot of good things about Nat Turner and how he's a very passionate collector of sports, and he's been a collector of sports. He owns some of the most expensive cards in the world. And so it would be, I mean, I'm not, this is why I'm asking you. I don't know if you know anything about Nat Turner. I don't know.
I don't see a lot of that stuff on my end. I'm a contractor.
It's not just Nat Turner, okay? So he runs the group of investors that bought it, okay? So it was more than one person who bought it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But they're making Nat Turner the face. Yeah, and they're making Nat Turner the face of it. So I think that's good in terms of that. And like anything I've heard about him has been hugely positive in terms of like the collector side of it. Meaning that like he's probably more supportive of the collector than any other company grading service owner. And there's going to be,
I think the thing that PSA is the most, well, I'll say the thing that I know that PSA is concerned with turnaround time. Right. And I'm not speaking for PSA, here at all. I'm just providing an opinion on what I do with PSA and how I understand it as a guy on the outside coming inside once in a while, right? Because that's really what a contractor is, right? Like I work on the outside, and then I come in, and once in a while I see the inside of PSA. I get the emails. I get, I talk to people at PSA and get things done. So, is it good? Is it not that Nat Turner owns it? I don't know. I mean, I'm not an employee. I'm not on the board. I don't sit on any of the meetings. Right. I don't know him personally, and I don't know, what changes have been made to PSA. I know that PSA is concerned about turnaround times, and they're trying to fix it and I know that they're concerned with, cards getting damaged in their cases and things like that too. Yeah. But the problem, I empathize with collectors, but I don't because, the same guys who complain about turnaround times want the cheapest bulk prices ever and sub 10,000 cards a week. How do you reconcile that, right? So you're concerned about turnaround times, but you're also subbing 100,000 cards and you're arguing that the prices are too expensive. Yeah. Those things are not reconcilable, right? You want to pay less, but you want less. You want more service. Yeah, and it's. I get it, but at a certain point,
and I mean, like, I don't. To me, I get that that person may be like a big customer and everything, and you want to please everybody, but at the same time, like. Fundamentally, what PSA does or any grading service does is guarantees the value of that collectible. Okay.
And the service.
Well, that's what the service is meant for. Okay. And so if people don't believe in PSA, they don't believe in their slabs. And for people for PSA to keep that credibility, they have to put their foot down in some way or another and say, you're going to pay us because we're making added value. Yeah. You're guaranteeing the value in your damn product, And
we I mean,
right now, I'll pull out an example, you don't really know this guy, Rui Hachimura. Right now, I don't. Like it's a raw card, but it's encased. It's selling for like, $2,000. That's an amazing price. Yep. But that's raw. There's PSA 10s of this card that are selling for $5,000-$6,000. Yep. And so I think right there, you owe PSA some money. Like, they just damn near doubled the value in the thousands of your card just by putting their name on it. Boom. And if you're going to be stingy and not want to pay them, I like you, I do not have any sympathy towards that at all.
No, none at all, dude.
At all.
Yeah, the argument needs to be logical, right?
Yeah, so exactly.
I'll touch on something that's kind of related to this, and that's, PSA up charges.
Yes.
So I know that this is a point of contention, and I will tell you,
I don't, I would, I am
the source of all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Up charges.
Yes.
I'm sorry. You can blame me. Well, in one form or another.
At the same time, like I expect, as a grading company, I would expect my customers to know what they're sending to me. Right? I would expect them to know that this card is going to grade this certain price, at least into some range ability, to gauge what that card's going to be worth after I grade it for you. So even submit it at the correct service. You expect
collectors to understand that when their card goes up in value, that the insurance on the back end has to match the underwriting that PSA had.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing.
Tells you, hey, you've got a $5,000 card, but you subbed it at the $200 level. We need to upcharge you so that we can insure your card properly on the way back to you.
And not only that, people want to pay less for the service of the card, but they want to be able to take their service time down with that. And it just blows my mind. You're paying a company to do something for you, but you want to pay less, have it faster, and have it better. You can't have your cake and eat it too at this point. You can't
have the cake after you ate it. No.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do it. It's not possible, right? So, the problem I see with the upcharges is people are like, well, am I going to get upcharged if I send this in bulk and it grades a 10? Like,
I don't feel bad for people like that.
Send it in bulk if that's what you want. I'm not encouraging people to lie about the value of their cards. If you
I don't think
valuable, send it in a higher echelon grading. But if you send it in bulk and they come back to you and they say, look, your card graded a 10 and we estimate it's worth this much value and we're going to upcharge you for it. Yeah, look, you're winning.
You're winning no matter what.
You did good, right?
Yeah.
You made money, right?
Yeah.
You did good. Right? Why are you mad?
Well, and it bothers me too because like I would rather just sub it at the better service level and not have to worry about the upcharge, right? Because I'm gonna get upcharged anyway. I think right now PSA has gotten to a point where they know they got the graders in there. They know that this card is not gonna be in the $200 limit that PSA has, so you're gonna get upcharged for it by putting it into your bulk. And you're still going to have to wait the 6 months to fucking get it back. So why not just sub it at an express level where you're going to be upcharged to anyways and have that better turnaround time? And that's where I don't feel bad at all for people who are mad about having to pay that. And it's like, dude, $75 a card to take your card from, $100, $200 card to $1,000 to $10,000 card. You're going to really be upset about that. Like, come on.
Well, some of these things are not always black and white, right? So, I mean, one of the things is like if you send in like, let's just say a Barrel Dragon, right, from Metal Raiders, and it's a first edition, right? You pulled it out of a pack, let's say. But, pack fresh cards could be 8, 9, 10. They could be less than that too. Pack fresh doesn't mean anything. I hope you're listening, sellers. Pack fresh doesn't mean anything, right? It's not a condition.
Yes.
Right? It's like a state of existence, right? Yes. I just pulled this out of a pack.
Yeah.
Right? So, the card, right, could value from $150 to, $3,500, right? So do you send it express? Do you send it bulk? If you're not sure, send it bulk, right? And if it upgrades to a 10, you're done. But if you think the card can get a 10 and you're gonna try and sell it for $3,500, you need to express the card, right? So it's relative, but you got to use your head. Like there's a thing in here, right? And you need to use it in conjunction with some study to figure out like what your card is worth. Because unless you just want to collect it, if you want to sell it, you ought to know what your card is worth on the back end when you grade it, right? So should it be express? Should it be bulk? Right? The answer, it depends. It just depends. There's no answer. Right?
Yeah.
It's relative to the card and the condition.
And I mean, you see big boy cards do that, and it's almost ignoramus, it's like, come on, this card's worth a shit ton of money. Why are you trying to put it, and I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is true.
I have seen it.
I don't know if this is true either, but like, I feel, that PSA is going to take the fucking rookie grader and stick it on the bulk submissions. And he's going to take my veteran best grader, and you're going to be on the highest echelon walkthrough service levels, 100% of the time.
True.
Presuming that that's true. Presuming that that's true, why would you want a card that's potentially worth a lot of money try to sneak right past a novice grader? Like, why?
I don't know. I presume that's true. I've never been there. I was going to actually go to PSA's facility in June this last year, but obviously, that didn't work out for one reason.
Yeah.
But
it's also the reason why everybody's collection's worth a lot more now.
Ostensibly, right? I mean, at least that's what some people say. I'll say maybe not. But I think that, it's just like a lot of this stuff is relative. And so people are like, I get all those things. Yeah. I agree with you, man. I agree with that. So what else
everybody who's listening, stop being a cheap ass and just pay the damn grading fee.
Yeah. I mean,
and I understand that like some people, don't have the type of money to be able to do that with, and they're trying to, gain some sort of sentimental value maybe, and they don't want to pay that much out of pocket. But at the same time, there's other stuff that you have to take into consideration. Before COVID, the bulk turnaround time was still very terrible. They did not go like I know a few people, they're like, we have contracts with PSA. We guarantee turnaround times of 45 days for bulk and all this bullshit. But it was 3-4 months, okay, and I'm not here to put anybody under the bus, but PSA is PSA and you are you, okay? So just do what you think is best. But don't be cheap on the back end. Just pay PSA what they're worth. I mean, they're making, whether it's sentimental or not, they're guaranteeing the value of your items. Like, that's huge. Yeah. And PSA is not just an authenticator of cards. They're also DNA, which is the authenticator of autographs, which is also one of the biggest markets on the planet. Autographed, items are huge. There was which was really crazy. Before we get anywhere else, there was an auction on, I think it was Comic Now or something, Comic Connect Now. They had the actual vinyl record that the assassin got signed, the copy that he got signed by John Lennon, the man who murdered him outside of his home. A few hours before that, got the grotesque. Yeah, it is, but it was signed by John. It was signed by John Lennon. Is the word, I think. It was signed by John Lennon, and that vinyl record at the time was worth $10 to $20. And the signature he gave away for free. This thing sold because it was a very prolific signature at that time as well. It's way more than any of his other signatures, but it sold for an astronomical over $500,000. Like, what the fuck, right? And then it's so the condition of it was absolutely terrible. It was wrecked, but it's the only one in the world, and it was signed. And it's got provenance. And it was signed. It's got provenance. If it wasn't signed, I would say it wouldn't even go near as that much. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like, it wouldn't even go near as, but because it was signed, it was that prolific. Yeah. Signatures and autographs, I think, that's why I keep posting on my Instagram. It's the year of the autograph, because right now I want it to be recognized. That's what sucks about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is because they don't actually they're not displaying their artists and putting their artists on the front line like Magic the Gathering and like Pokemon is. I don't think they do. And it's interesting because that kind of culture isn't really like vogue in Yu-Gi-Oh! Per se. It's really weird. People do have some signature pieces from like voice actors and stuff, but like the collector base for stuff like that is just so astronomically small that like when people DM me, they're like, what is this signature thing worth? And I'm like, what's the near mint worth? Like add 20% to it. Yeah. Because there's no real market for it. Cause they don't have illustration by or whatever. I don't think. Well, like on a Yu-Gi-Oh card, we can see right here. I mean, this one, it doesn't even say. It says copyright 2020 Studio Dice Shueisha TV Tokyo, like Konami. That doesn't. There's no artist name on here. I can't tell who illustrated this. So if anybody, right? If anybody, if it was one person or if it was 30 people, it could have just been the art the art board and Konami themselves. That put it together. I'm sure Konami, they have a bunch of in-house artists that they pay, a salary, and they never put their name on the products. A lot of Pokemon, they're not paid salary. Same art. How many Pokemon cards use the same exact art? Also very true. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has used the same art all the time, right? I mean, there's very little. I mean, when there's an alt art, like there's literally a name for it, an alt art card. When alt art cards are produced in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a big deal because you're used to the same art with a different rarity or a different foil or from a different set or something like that. And so when you see Legend of Blue Eyes, the art, like you can collect, there's 5 different Blue Eyes cards in 2002. 5. There's Shonen Jump, the JMP 001. With the tombs behind it. Knows, 001. There's SDK 001. There's BPT 003. And there's DDS 001. DDS, I don't know that one.
5. Dark Duel Story.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know it. Yep. Yeah, and the 3 big ones are LOB, SDK, DDS.
Yep.
Those are the big 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And then there's BPT underneath that.
And it's crazy to see, you know, like one would think that like Dark Magician would be like number 2, but it's not. It's not number 2 by like a lot.
It's not solid, right? I mean, it's definitely top 5 material.
Yeah, but it's not number 2.
Sometimes people like Red Eyes, like people seem to think that like the aesthetics of wavy Red Eyes is like a better aesthetic than, you know, Dark Magician. Although I disagree. I think the aesthetic on the Dark Magician is much better than Red Eyes, but it depends, like, because Dark Magician isn't a dragon. Dragons are cool, man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
True,
like,
very true.
And
I would just say that it would be if, you know, the same popularity because of the anime and Yugimoto being the owner of the Dark Magician. So
typical, yes. When people think Yugi, they think Dark Magician.
Yep. And so I think there's, you know, it's really interesting to see that, you know, the most popular Pokemon is Charizard, followed by the Pikachu, which makes sense. It really makes sense. But the most popular Yu-Gi-Oh card is the Blue Eyes White Dragon, followed by not the Dark Magician.
Followed by it's up for debate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, some people like Metal Raiders, you know, more than Legend of Blue Eyes, and there's a reason for that. You know, there's
Metal Raiders,
and they're like
Metal Raiders had Summon Skull in it, right?
Summon Skull.
Yep.
Barrel Dragon.
Summon Skull was a huge card as a kid. I remember.
Change of Heart, right?
Yep. Change of Heart.
Time Wizard.
Yep. Enemy
Dragon,
Controller. I had a play set of Enemy Controllers. I love that card so much.
Enemy Controller, Ancient Sanctuary. Like there's so many.
I had all the Gravekeeper's Guard.
Gravekeeper cards and Pharaonic Guardian, like an entire archetype, right? Playable archetype exists in Pharaonic Guardian. I mean, warrior cards like, you know, Freed, Rotting Captain, you know, all of those cards. Fiends, Necrofear, right? That's a great card. Yada. I mean, and even, you know, the pretty cards, right? Pretty cards that, you know.
And that's what I liked about the secret rares is that they completely changed the foil pattern, and that, oh, fuck, man, that amazed me as a kid. I was like, damn. I really liked it. I wish they would have kept it. Like, the Ghost Rare is like the second best, like, foil pattern I've ever seen Konami make. Like, when I saw these Ghost Rares for the first time, I was like, wow, that's actually slick. Because you're only seeing the picture if you turn it a certain way. Like, that's pretty
in Japanese, they're considered a holographic rare.
A holographic rare? Crazy.
Yeah, or I think that's what they are, like a holographic rare or something like that. Because in the TCG, it's considered a ghost rare.
Right,
in the OCG, it's considered a holographic rare. And, you know, there's a world of difference between the OCG and the TCG. It's something that a lot of people don't understand when they come into Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that, you know, there are 2 different types of tournaments, right? There's the trading card game, which is English and a lot of the other foreign languages in Europe and stuff like that. And then there's the official card game, which is the stuff that is in Japan, in
that's crazy.
Southeast Asia.
And they don't they don't do any world tournaments or nothing like that, like Pokemon does?
They do, yeah. So Worlds is I think all of the prizes in Worlds are some of them. Man, I'm a little out of my depth here.
I have a whole group of like Yu-Gi-Oh enthusiasts with their pitchforks ready for you, bud. So you better get this right now.
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to get told I'm wrong, and I'm willing to be wrong. But you know, a lot of the Worlds tournaments, the participation cards are considered Asian English.
Yeah.
But the championship prizes in some cases are English, limited to 2 and limited to 6. Right. So the World Championship cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Started in 2003. This was the first World Championship Series, WCS. WCS is not a part of the Shonen Jump Championship. So these are 2 separate tournaments.
Really?
WCS is its own tournament, right? So WCS starts in 2003 and is parallel to the Shonen Jump Championships, which start in 2004 with Cyberstein as the prize card. Everybody knows Cyberstein. Cyberstein is the Shonen Jump SJC EN001 Cyberstein.
Yep.
It was a prize card, and given out as well at Upper Deck Day. So it's not just the prize card. It is a prize card. The prizes are in Lucite. Those are the prize cards.
Right.
Right. The others are not prize cards, right? They're given out at Upper Deck Day. They're promotional cards. They are rare. I'm not saying that they're not rare, but they're not necessarily like the prizes themselves, right?
Right.
So the prizes are in the Lucite.
Right.
So,
right.
So there are some that are sealed and stuff like that. But Shonen Jump, SJCS, and SJC is not the same as WCS. They're still, both co-equal prizes and championships, but WCS has a much rarer card type than, so 2003 is the first year. Those 2003 prizes have not been seen since they were given out. We don't even know if they exist or how many were made. We have no idea.
That's crazy.
They could not exist. Yep. So all we know is
none graded
that,
at all.
None. And if they exist, they may be in Lucite. I mean, they're cased. They should be cased.
Right.
There's Blackluster Soldier and Victory Dragon, I think, are the two ultra rares, or not. We're not really sure if they're ultra rares or super rares. The wiki is say super rare, but some people think that they're ultra rare because every prize card should be ultra rare.
Right.
So until you get to 2016 and later, or 2013 and later, when they become extra secret rares. But these ultra rares haven't been seen since 2003. There's no pictures of them, so we have no idea what they look like or if they exist at all. So in 2004, they gave out Ulevo, which is 2, limited to 2 in the world. So every 001 WCS is limited to 2 because there's 2 tournaments, right?
Crazy.
There's the Dragon Duel, the Young Kids Tournament, and then there's the Championship. So there's 2.
Right. Yeah,
and then for the prize card winners, for the winners themselves. So 2 winners, 2 prizes.
Right.
And then the other one, Mateo the Matchless, the 2004 prize card, there's 6.
Okay.
Second, third, fourth, times 2 tournaments.
Right.
6.
Right.
So
okay, that makes
Mateo,
sense. It's the same thing
the
as
Matchless
Pokemon.
we've seen.
Right.
What's that?
It's the same thing as Pokemon, except they make they have 3 per tournament because it's kids, juniors, and masters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and later on, Yu-Gi-Oh has 3 because there's the remote duel, there are the dual links, then there's the Dragon, the kids, and then there's the championship. So 3.
Right.
But all of these prize cards, I mean, and there are some that are not prizes. Again, like SJCS, there are some singles that are not encased in Lucite or in a official case, and those are not prizes, but they're still prize cards, necessarily speaking. So you could grade them, and there are ultra rares that exist that are graded, but the ultra rares are the prizes, and the super rares are the attendance cards. And so, what you'll see is later on in WCS and WCPS is that the super rares themselves are are reprints or replicas, is what it says.
Right.
So you'll see the Blue Eyes White Dragon replica. I think it's called. I forget the name exactly off the top of my head right now immediately. So I'm getting tons of light in here.
Yeah, I think your blinds are telling us that we've been on the call for a while.
Yeah.
The sun's literally changing angle.
The super rares, right? People DM me, they're like, "Oh, I picked up this prize card, but it's a super rare." Prize cards are not super rares.
Yeah.
Prize cards are ultra rares or extra secret rares. And so, if you have a super rare, it's an attendance card.
Yeah.
If you have an ultra rare, it's the prize card.
That just means you were there.
Big difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, or you participated, right? Participation cards or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I don't know that it's an attendance card, but if you were in the tournament, you got a sealed super rare version, and the 001s are reprinted. So Legendary Dragon of White is the ultra rare. See, I remembered it. So don't crucify me on this, Yu-Gi-Oh collectors listening to this podcast. Legendary Dragon of White comes as a ultra rare prize card. But later, the next year, it comes as a super rare participation card.
Crazy.
Worlds of difference.
Yeah,
World.
That is crazy.
So,
wow. This Pokemon knowledge is a lot. It's a lot. Pokemon, I feel like, or not Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so much more data heavy than Pokemon. I feel like there's a lot more data to go through. There's a lot more back end work involved with this hobby.
There can be, man. I mean, if you can't find a guy like me or something like that You know, it's challenging to find this information on the internet.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
Or impossible.
Is there any? Do you know what E4 is?
Yes, I do.
Is there anything like that for Yu-Gi-Oh? Not really.
I mean, it's not the same, right? We're working on something like it, but it's not going to be like E4. I mean, there are some pro boards. I mean, there's Pojo.
Yeah.
There's the Wikias. Even E4 has a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff in it, and I know that there are a lot of really smart dudes that have posted stuff on E4 for the collectors that are not as knowledgeable as them, which is helpful. And I've leveraged some of that too, because it really is good information to have. But they're really not that I know of. I mean, again, I'm willing to be wrong, but a lot of guys come to me and they're like, "Man, you know so much. Like, why isn't this stuff available?"
Right.
Working on it.
Yeah, definitely. We just need a memory ray gun, and we'll just pull out information from your brain.
Well, that's the problem. Is a lot of it trapped in people's heads.
Yeah.
And so you don't really get the information until you start picking people's brains.
Yeah.
To figure out, because even the Wikias are wrong. If you look at the first national tournament on the Wikia, it tells you that there's one of each prize card, but there's not. There's one Black Luster Soldier, but there's 2 second place, 3 third place, 4 fourth place, right? And these were the first prize cards ever given out in 1999. And the information that you would find on the Wikia would have you believe that there's one of each. But the first place guy got all 4 cards. The second place guy got the top 3. You know what I mean? Like, the bottom 3 and so there are 4 of fourth place, 3 third place, 2 second place, 1 first place.
Yeah.
But you would never know that.
Yeah.
If you looked at the Wikia.
That's crazy. Yeah.
The rarest cards in the world.
Don't pay attention to the Wikia.
I mean, it's a reference, right? So it's not that
Go follow Gezi TCG, okay? He's the actual encyclopedia.
But just remember that, not everything that you read on the Wikia is guaranteed to be true.
Right. And I think that's just with everything, not just with Yu-Gi-Oh! That's why, when I was in college and high school, they all told me like Wikipedia is not, it's not the one. It's not the one. I mean, you use it, reference it, but don't be taking copyright out of that shit and put it in your reports, bud, because you're getting enough.
When Wikia first came out.
Yeah. And it's, I think it was mostly because of the accessibility to completely rewrite a page. And people, in the beginning were afraid of that. But I mean, now there's literally teams that are up 24/7 a day. And they're monitoring every single page that gets edited. And every time one gets edited in the wrong way, it's immediately corrected. And so it doesn't really, matter.
I want to touch on one thing
before we go.
Before we go, right? Because I know we're probably coming up on time here. But, people talk to me about Yu-Gi-Oh, and they're like, "What's the next illustrator of Pikachu?" And my answer is always like, "It's not the same, right?" But there is some, there are some rarities though. If people looking for rarities, there is rarity in Yu-Gi-Oh, and a ton of it, and a ton of depth to find. So the T3 Asian Championship prize cards from 2001. This was the last tournament before WCS started.
Yep.
And these cards are 1 of 1. All of them. They're all 1 of 1. There's rumors that others exist, but I've never
haven't
seen
been
it.
proven. Yeah.
So there's 1 of each, right? There's 5 of them. There's a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. There's a Red Eyes Black Dragon. There's a Angry Karibo, a Summon Skull, and Gemini Elf.
Gemini Elf, I can get behind that.
Yeah, and it's actually a really cool art that's never been reprinted. All of these arts have never been reprinted.
Good.
So there is no replica of them in either the Japanese OCG or in the trading card game.
Right.
And these cards are all true 1 of 1s. So the Summon Skull, right? I'm gonna put some lore on here. Is alleged to have been lost in the tsunami in 2008, 2004, or whatever.
No. Are you talking about the tsunami in Japan? There was one in 2011 that was major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alleged to. I don't know which tsunami it was, but it's alleged to have been.
That's just the one I know. That's just the one I know of. Yeah.
And so there are. All of them have popped up recently. I've seen, pictures of people who own them. The Karibo, the Red Eyes, the Gemini Elf, the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. I have never seen the Summon Skull. So I believe that it actually is lost.
Crazy.
It's gone. Can't even get it.
That's what there's a lot of history behind a lot of these collectibles that I think is extremely important, and one day we're gonna see this shit in the Smithsonian museums, last sealed fucking Legend of Blue Eyes box on the planet sealed, last first edition base set booster box on the planet sealed.
If you ever go to Japan, there is a wall of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So every card that I say is like a one of one. It's actually not a one of one. Konami has a copy of every
card ever made
on that wall that was ever made, right?
Yeah.
So
but
that
it's like secured in the wall, right? Like
yes.
There's no way you're getting it out of there in one piece. Yeah.
No way. But if you do go, that those cards are.
I want to know,
and I'm going to reach back
to get that information. So when I go to Japan, I want to go visit. It seems fucking dope.
It's pretty cool. I imagine. I've never been there. I've seen pictures of it, and it's real. All the cards are there.
That's crazy. That's gotta be, that's gotta be really cool, especially as a company who manufactured it. It's not just like somebody who went off and did it on their own, as some kind of art piece or something. This is produced by the company, and I think that that's special to show. I
think they're all period too. I think they're all period productions. You know
crazy.
What I mean? So when all of those cards were made when the others were made.
Yeah. So then right. That would be even more crazy to see. And I've always wanted. I just saw recently like footage of WotC. Like they were just like doing shit and like going. I was like, wow, this is really crazy. So I would love to see a Konami factory or a Konami production house like going through a lot of that stuff. And I think there's a lot of cool things that won't ever be seen because there wasn't cameras as prolific as they are now. You know what I'm saying? Like every WotC employee didn't have a fucking cell phone with a camera on it. And so there wasn't,
because the card games are old enough.
Yeah. To have gone into that point.
People were still using that Nokia brick.
Yeah, exactly.
With the green screen.
Yep. I remember playing Snake on the off time. Yep, on the off time. Yep. Playing Snake, buddy.
That was a big thing, man.
Yep, I remember that too. Well, shit, man, it's been great talking to you. Thank you, Gezi, for coming on to the show. We really appreciate that, your knowledge, man, and that's important. Education is like 100% important to me, and for any hobby, it's the number one in terms of growth ability, and
yes.
I think that's important.
The biggest thing, like, steward your profession, right?
Yep. No matter what it is.
Be a contributor.
Yep, exactly. Yep, and I think that's important. So thank you for coming on to the show and really dropping a lot of knowledge onto us, because, people are going to have almost 2 hours now to do that. So thank you, man. Thank you for joining, and we're going to have you on the show in the future, man. I really appreciate you. Dude, thank you for giving me a venue. I really appreciate it, honestly. I hope one day that these podcasts become to a point where, it's a lot of people are watching this, and so this information and this education can be available to a lot more people once, this takes off. And so I really appreciate you being, in the beginning and on that uphill battle, right? So you're awesome for that. No problem, man. Thank you, Gezi. Thanks for having me, man. No problem. And that was Gezi, TCG, from Instagram. Go give him a follow. An extremely well-versed Yu-Gi-Oh expert and PSA consultant. He is huge in a lot of different areas. If you guys are ever looking for any knowledge at all, do not be afraid to message him. He is not too big for anybody, and that's what's important in this world. So you guys have a good night. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you.